In 1788, an imperial army of tens of thousands began shooting at shadows in the dark. No Ottoman soldiers had arrived. No battle had begun. A single gunshot, a few shouted warnings in languages half the camp did not understand. And an army trained for war turned its weapons on itself. By morning, the ground was covered with dead and wounded, killed not by the enemy they feared, but by the men standing beside them. The Battle of Karánsebes is often remembered as a military farce. It was not a joke. It was what happens when a system designed for violence loses the ability to distinguish signal from noise. The Battle of Karánsebes was not a tragic accident. It was a predictable failure produced by an army that could no longer distinguish command from noise. In 1788, the Habsburg Empire was fighting the Ottoman Empire along a long and unstable frontier. Its army was large, multinational, and structurally fragile. Germans, Hungarians, Croats, Serbs, Romanians, Italians, and Czechs served together under officers who often did not share a common language with their men. This diversity was not ideological. It was administrative. The empire governed by accumulation, not integration, and its army reflected that reality. At Karánsebes, in present-day Romania, no Ottoman force was initially present. The Austrian army had advanced ahead of its supply lines and camped near the town while conducting reconnaissance. A detachment of cavalry crossed a nearby river and encountered local traders selling schnapps. The soldiers bought alcohol. Discipline dissolved quietly without conflict. Later that night, infantry units followed and demanded a share. An argument broke out. Someone fired a shot, whether by accident or intimidation remains unclear. In an army trained to expect sudden Ottoman raids, the sound carried meaning faster than information. Panic spread before facts could. Crucially, the army had no shared language to correct the misunderstanding. Orders were shouted in German. Warnings came back in Hungarian or Slavic dialects. Commands contradicted one another. When officers attempted to restore order, their authority was indistinguishable from threat. Words failed. Sound took over. Someone shouted Terci, Turks. That single word reorganized the situation instantly. Units turned outward, then inward, firing toward perceived movement. Darkness erased distinction. Muzzle flashes became targets. Soldiers fired at shadows that answered with gunfire. The army did not break. It activated. Artillery crews, hearing gunshots and believing the camp was under attack, fired grape shot into advancing formations. Cavalry attempted to retreat through infantry lines. Infantry mistook retreat for enemy advanced. The feedback loop closed. The army responded exactly as it had been trained to respond, just without an enemy. By morning, thousands were dead or wounded. Estimates vary widely, but losses were severe enough that when Ottoman forces arrived days later, they found an abandoned battlefield littered with corpses. The Habsburg army had already destroyed its own coherence. The paradox of Karánsebes is that nothing went wrong locally. No individual decision was irrational. Soldiers reacted to noise, movement, and perceived threat. Officers issued commands. Artillery fired on what appeared to be advancing forces. Every action made sense in isolation. The failure emerged at the system level. This was not incompetence. It was structural overload. Early modern armies depended on centralized command, clear signaling, and shared assumptions. The Habsburg army had none of these at scale. Its communication architecture could not survive ambiguity. When uncertainty entered the system, it amplified rather than dampened. Karánsebes reveals a deeper logic of organized violence. Armies are not defined by weapons or numbers. They are defined by coordination. When coordination fails, force does not disappear. It turns inward. The army at Karánsebes did not lose a battle. It demonstrated what happens when internal signals become indistinguishable from threats.